Hello, welcome everyone to another episode of EXP Unleashed. My name is Andy, and today I'm very honored to be joined here by one of my great friends and also my mentor, Mr. Joe Tolvay. Joe, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on the channel, Andy.
Awesome. I've waited for this day for a very, very long time. I know in my previous videos, some of my guests that were here have alluded to your name or have mentioned you. Finally, you're here. So I know you're a very, very busy person, and thank you so much for, investing the time and sparing the time to come out and chat with my audience and the people that I'm sure will get a lot of value from the words of wisdom that they're going to learn about today.
Yeah, no, thank you again for inviting me, and again for putting on this channel for a lot of agents who are, just getting into the industry or looking for a change away from the norm. Right? Like EXP has probably mentioned, many times in your videos, has changed the face of the industry completely and giving agents, another way to look at how to do real estate other than just doing regular real estate. So thanks again for all that you do and everything that you've done. I'm really super excited to see where you go next with the next set of videos.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of work, but at the same time, as long as one person, out there gets value, it's all worth it, right? So that's really cool. So I do want to ask you some series of questions. So today's kind of topic is really to get more of a casual conversation, to get to know your opinion on certain topics, of course, real estate related. Just a little bit of background story, how I met you. For those that don't know, I got into real estate about I believe 6 years ago. And actually the first time I met you was pretty much my first exposure in an office. And at the time I was introduced to you by a good friend of mine that's also in my previous life that I sold cars to. And we really hit it off right from the get-go. I still remember that you asked me, hey, is that Subaru STI, in the parking lot? Is that your car? And at that point, I'm like, yeah, this guy's a car guy. And I know that we'll get along just fine. So yeah, and then from then on, obviously, I mentioned this earlier in my video, just in the intro there, that you are my mentor. And, if there's ever a question, ever a doubt in real estate, anything real estate related, or even non-real estate related, I know who to call, right? And I know that a lot of agents look up to you and you're a great resource to them. And you always, invest the time and are genuine about, really wanting to help them. So, that with that being said, I wanted to kind of go on to the first question is,
sure.
Is there an ideal time for like a new agent or for to get into real estate?
Yeah, well, I mean, the opportunity came up to me several times. Earlier in my life when I was 25, I was not ready because again, at that point in my life, like I wasn't there yet, like getting into real estate. I've always equated to the same thing as deciding to lose 100 pounds or quitting smoking. It can literally change your life, right? Like it's changed mine completely and the life of my families and many, many others. But you have to really know what you're getting into, because a lot of people think it's easy. I'll just go out and show a couple houses and write a deal and boom, there's my $10,000 for doing 2 hours of work. It's not like that, as you know, and anybody who's watching this that's an agent will know exactly that's what a lot of the public thinks, that we get paid gross amounts of money for very little, right? And their value, we don't have any value, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes and how we educate our clients every step of the way, because we have a lot of past experience, right? And if you don't, as a brand new agent, don't have that past experience, lean on somebody else's experience, right? Just like how you said, right? So the best time to get into real estate, I'd say, Andy, is when you want to make that life-changing choice. If you feel that you're no longer happy where you are, you haven't been there for a long time, and it's time for something new and exciting. that's one part of it, that you need that change. But the other part of it is that you want to take your life into your own hands, because as well as most people do, right? It is 100% commission based. You are the boss of yourself. You are the CEO of your own company. And one question that I heard from a real estate coach to ask yourself, on a daily basis, even, is if I'm the CEO of my own company and I saw myself as an employee, is what I'm doing right now, surfing Facebook, watching YouTube videos, getting lost in the void, would I keep myself hired on, or would I fire me? Right? Keep that, like, post that somewhere on your wall and be like, is what I'm doing right now really forwarding me to my goals of becoming truly successful and, wealthy, in whatever aspect, and health and, money and whatever. Right? So watching all those YouTube videos of funny cats and people, everything like that, is that really helping? If not, then keep that in mind and shut that off and go back to making those calls and doing that research for those clients that you're working for, right? So
Right.
and then I'm going to allude to the fact that we both came from a big brokerage, a big brand name, right? And we were both happy where we were, right? Why would we make a change? For those people who are agents who are thinking about leaving the industry because it's the daily grind, right? It's where do I get my next client from and everything like that, but then you have to make that decision whether you pay your mortgage or pay your brokerage. That's where EXP can really shine a light on the future and really get things going and excited again. I've heard so many countless stories about people saying that they were gonna, like, 15, almost 20 years in the business, saying, I've been thinking about quitting real estate for the last 5 years, and this was going to be the year. And then I heard about EXP and it changed everything, but
Right.
that's not what we're here for. That's what your videos are for. So
That's awesome. Now, I know that you mentioned people that are either not happy with their current career, whether it's in real estate already or not. I guess this question, just as a follow-up to that, is like, how does a person even think about getting into real estate? Like, is there like a certain mindset, or like, do they just simply want to help someone, and real estate is there? Like, I know that if I didn't think about it on a daily basis myself, if I wasn't in sales already, it might be such a big step, or something that that I would have never been in in my radar of, hey, I think I can do that. And I know that in one of my videos, I talk about the 5 top professions that I feel that could get into real estate that are non-real estate related, right? So what is your thought on that? Like, is there something there that for new, like, maybe not a new agent, but someone that's thinking of getting into real estate, that hey, you should start, like, there's no ideal time. It's whenever you're ready, kind of thing, right? And taking that leap of faith.
And then in that same breath, like, not a lot of people know what it all entails, right? They just know, and I'll say this, that nobody thinks about initially getting into real estate because they just want to help people, right? They just think that, like, I've heard or I've seen, you can make a lot of money in this, more than I'm currently doing at this. And I hate my job, or I hate my boss, or whatever, right? It's never the initial, I really love helping people, and there's a big payoff at the end of helping people. That comes after, realizing what real estate can do for you, right? It's more of like, what can it do for me? And then how can it help others? How can I help service others? And then that usually stems from a person seeing an agent such as yourself that's doing a lot of business, and seeing all the, the family trips, and like, wow, he's really not that, like, he's not as busy as I think, but he's making all this money or whatever, but really, like, people don't see, all the work that we put into it on a daily basis. They just see sale, 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 and then, the good things, right? They don't know the stresses that we go through as agents. And they'll find out pretty quickly enough. But they're like, okay, so they see someone who's an agent, right? That's the number one thing. They see someone, they know somebody who's an agent. They're like, and then it's curious to them, like, how did you get into it? how is it going? It's always like, hey, how's it going? Are you busy? Or like, right? It's always like, I'm so busy. I'm so busy.
Yeah.
Right. But, and then the second thing is that maybe they had a bad experience,
Mm.
right? They had a bad experience with a real estate agent and they're like, I do not want that person to help anybody that I know. So I'm going to be that person for everybody that I know because I know I can do a better job than that person.
Interesting. Yeah, that actually sparks that motivation for them to
Yeah.
take on that role and do a better job. So that's
Yeah.
I never really thought about it that way, Joe.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, sorry, the third way,
yeah.
before I forget it, the third way is someone does so many house sales on their own. They're an investor. They do so many house sales on their own. They're like, I keep paying this person $5, 10, $15,000 or more a year, and I could be doing this, right? And then they reach out to that person and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting my license. Sorry that I'm not going to be paying you anymore if I decide to go this way, but
Mhm.
can you let me know what the steps are? And
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I definitely see, those three different scenarios and plus there's more of how someone can get introduced into real estate as a career and as a topic of discussion. Now, my next question, I know that, of course, I've mentioned this to you, Joe, and a lot of people know this. You have a heart of gold, and you're a person that have a very, the mindset and also approach as a mentor, as a teacher, right? And from that, I know a main reason is because you're a lifelong student yourself, and you constantly want to improve, and with that, you want to share with others, but why do you help other agents, like especially new agents who are getting into the industry? Because I know that it takes a lot of time. I know it takes a lot of your time, but why do you do that?
Honestly, it's all about um, when I was first introduced to the industry, hearing how many other people were saying how bad it is. Oh, you need $50,000 in savings before you even want to start thinking about a career, and and it's really hard. It's really
Mhm.
hard. A lot of would-be agents are getting, potentially, the bad experiences of that person that they're talking to, imposed on them to make them, think about whether or not they want to do this.
Right.
I wouldn't leave it to that one person's opinion to really think if this is something that can change my life, and I won't let one person's opinion. If I value that person's opinion, otherwise I wouldn't have asked them. But maybe I'll ask another person or a few people just to wrap my head around it, given now what I've heard, right? And I never had that, right? I never had that experience, right? So I was lucky enough to fall in with one of my best friends who before then we were friends for almost 20 years. It's past that now, right? And he was part of a team, and I was lucky enough to be the first person he thought of when they were thinking about expanding their team. So at that point I was just like, if he was able to change his life around 180 degrees and more than quadruple his income from the previous year from what he's learned, maybe I can do the same. And in fact, he said that to me. He's like, Joe, I think that you'll do better in your first year of real estate than I did in my first year, hands down. But I had that in, and they were promising me that they were going to help me answer all my questions. Whenever I needed them, they would be there 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So my experience is how I want other agents new to the industry to experience it.
Mm.
I got that guidance, I got that support, I got that mentorship. So that's how I learned to become an agent, because that was what I received. So
Right.
that's what I want to give. Just like, when you hear like people who have unfortunately, bad situations with parents, younger on, they tend to grow up doing that same thing, becoming parents themselves. And adversely, like having a really supportive family, really close knit family, they grow up and have families that are really close knit themselves. I feel it's the same way in real estate. Like real estate can be very lonely business, as we all know, right? It can be very lonely. But when you surround yourself by people who are consistently uplifting you and supporting you, it makes it not like that, which unfortunately 90 to 95% of the industry, they know it as the former. right? Very lonely, right? So when you surround yourself, like I said, with like-minded individuals, and I heard this good quote, probably saw it on TikTok or something like that. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Right? So constantly surrounding yourself by people who are doing what you want to be doing or doing better, surround yourself with those people and you will see yourself get there and maybe even surpass those people, right?
Right.
So when I got into the industry that way, that's exactly like I said before, that's why I help agents no matter what. Like I've always been that do you got a minute guy, right? And it
Right.
always takes longer than a minute, right? You know that. Right? Always takes longer than a minute, right? So, but as long as they need, because that's
Right.
that's how I grew up in this industry.
Yeah, I know that every time that I call you, Joe, it's you're never too busy for my phone call. So again, I'm very appreciative of that. And for me, that's part of my reason of having this channel is to share with the knowledge that I have from my experiences as well. Because giving back is part of life, right? And I've mentioned this before. Like you can teach someone to make $1 million, but they still have to do the work. They still need to put in the grind, right? And
Yeah.
and do that. So again, but it's that opportunity, right? That when someone's struggling or in need, that they're knocking on your door and they're like, "Please help me," and you're not turning them away, which is that's very very reassuring, especially for new agents that don't know what to ask, why they're not succeeding or getting the results that they wanted, setting them up on the right path. Just because real estate is very complex, right? It's a business at the end of the day, and you're trying to navigate your way, especially if you're a first time business owner trying to make it in real estate. Having that guidance, what not to do, how to do it, I think those are really important. Now, just kind of switch of topic here.
Sure.
Joe, what do you envision in terms of real estate in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, I know there's a lot of things that's changing. I remember back when my parents, like growing up, like real estate was still, built on, not a lot of technology. I recall that some agents that have been in the real estate industry for a long time, I remember them sharing their stories with me, saying that they actually have to go to um, the other agents, the listing agents, brokerage to pick up the key, show the home, and then drop off the key. Like I'm like, wow, that's a lot of driving, right? So I mean, in terms of technology, one thing, but just overall, what do you envision in real estate? Like, how's it going to change?
Well, you can always look, just like how you alluded to, how things were, right? How things were to how things are today will give you an idea of where things are going, right? So like you said, even as short as like 15 years ago in life is a blink, right?
Mhm.
Like I've been in this industry, like it'll be 8 years, actually 8 years as a real estate agent, 10 and a half years overall in this industry. um, you know, it's gone by so fast, you know what I mean? And so with how things used to be 15, 20 years ago, like you said, agents would have to go to the individual brokerage's offices, pick up the keys for that house. So it's like you were showing a person a house. It was an all-day thing because you'd have to go to that brokerage office here, go to the brokerage office over there, out of town, and you'd spend 4 hours just driving around, picking up keys, and then dropping them off again. So it was like an all-day thing showing buyers houses, So and of course this was all before I was in the industry, so I'm hearing stories from those that were a little bit more longer in the tooth than me, right? Like all the sayings of, press hard, third copy's yours.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how it was, like a listing contract was one page,
Mhm.
right? And they would get that third copy, and then one copy would be for files, the other would go to the brokerage office and get filed there, until it turned to dust, right? So you look at how it was back then, how agents were, they when they first signed up, they got a cubicle in a big office, and then there was a phone and a phone book, and
Mhm.
that's how you were like, okay, in the white pages, right? They were like, okay, here's your leads, your lead generator. It's right here. This is the phone book.
Yeah.
Everybody got that, right? And then they would just go in and cold call people. This is what I do. day in, day out, 8, 10, 12 hours, depending on when you got to the office. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that's what they did, right?
Right.
Fast forward to now, everything's going digital, right? Everything's going digital. People are doing videos. People are buying houses literally sight unseen. I mean, just doing a virtual walkthrough, right, with the agent, right? I've sold several houses this past year that same way. And many other agents who have, a big out of province or out of country referral base do it all the time, right? So if you see where it's now, where as, for example, as EXP is a virtual brokerage, they don't believe the fact that, you don't need that person to come sit in the office, signing things, going up to on a computer screen together. You can do it this way from the comfort of your own home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if we take 2015, 20 years ago, what it was to now, you can basically say that, okay, 10 years from now, it's going to be even more dependent on technology, right?
Right.
People are not, it's going to be all virtual walkthroughs, right? Pretty soon you're going to be seeing, like there's going to be a walkthrough that you guys are walking through the house together through VR, right?
I've seen some of that starting now, and it is pretty cool.
Exactly. And for those who are watching that are a little bit, more experienced in their lives, and as VR is virtual reality, right? So, and but that's the way it's going to go. And as we've seen with these past few years with the pandemic and COVID and all that stuff happening, you know, I've heard a lot from agents who said that they've had their worst year ever these past few years,
Mm-hmm.
past, years of their career. They're like at the worst. Whereas a lot of agents are flourishing. And why is that? It's because, you have to change with a changing market. And as we know, like our market is very, very seasonal here, but not this year, right? It's been crazy busy in December and January when everybody's historically been, asleep and taking it easy and everything like that. No, it's been crazy busy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So as an agent, and this is going back to our initial question of like, one of the agents, like if you're thinking about getting to the industry, right? You need to be always changing. You need to be up on the newest things, technology, the rules and regulations, contracts, and things like that. And you have to, you can't just leave it to yourself to know the answers, because how do you know the answers if you don't know the question,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's why you need to be surrounding yourself with people who are going to be there for you, surrounding yourself by those individuals, so that you can always uh, ask those questions if you have the questions. But sometimes, like in your case, when we were first starting together, you had all these questions, but it was the answers or the questions that you didn't know that you were interested in finding out the answers to,
Right.
right? Right, preparing yourself, right? So if you don't know what to ask, you don't know what the answers will be, right? So if so technology is going to be ever changing. It's going to be only more involved in our lives. And if you're an agent now who's unwilling to accept that, you might as well have the writing might as well be on the wall,
Right.
because eventually those folks that you sold to 15, 20, 25 years ago are no longer going to be, in the market, right? And the people that they know who are going to be connecting with the people who are more into technology than yourself. So
So with that being said, are you saying that, buyers and sellers, or like clients in general, are they expecting their agent to be different, given the changing market, given the changing technology that is available to agents? Are they having their, like, is their expectation changing or being adjusted because of that?
I think it's it's always had the one most important principle that's never going to change, is that whether that, first of all, that agent is going to treat you with respect, and is trustworthy, right? And they're going to consistently educate you on the market, whether you're a buyer or seller, right? And show you that value, right?
Mm-hmm.
Value is comes from being taught something that you didn't know, that you perceive as, okay, that's valuable to me, right? Those are the most intangible things that we have as agents to offer people who think they, by watching, like you've heard the whole the adage, like I watch HGTV so I can
Yeah.
sell a house, right? Myself, or I can do, I watch like these property renovation shows so I can build a kitchen, no problem, right?
Yeah.
YouTube is my friend,
Mhm.
right? So, but nothing will prepare you, for everything that can come up like an agent can, right? So that's the number one thing that will never change is that, that the agent treats you with respect and gives you that good service that you've always known them to give you, or the people that are referring them to you, right? So
So essentially what you're saying is the foundations of what builds a great long lasting relationship, right? And just
exactly.
being genuine about it and really putting their best interests at heart and really wanting to help them, right? I think that's where the assistance and helping really matters, because they feel like you're on their side. They feel like you're their friend
Oh,
in
you're a
some,
team.
or a team.
Yeah.
um so yeah, that's I guess with technology in this particular I guess topic, it just helps with that, right? It just further cements that relationship, because obviously information flows very fast. In certain situations it's very advantageous to be efficient with information and to provide that and share that with people that you serve, and that could make or break a deal, or it could change a situation for that person, either being favorable or not favorable. So I guess that's really part of that, right? Part of that technological age that we're currently in right now, because there's so much information out there, but it's how to properly leverage that information, properly leveraging the technology that you can provide even a better service to the clients that you serve, right?
Yes, exactly. And one of the biggest things that has always stuck with me was a Tom Ferry quote, and it was, "What got you here today won't get you to where you want to be tomorrow."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you're always going to be up on the latest trends, right? Where's the market at? Where has it been? Where is it going? Right? So many of my clients have reached out to me from last year saying, "Joe, your advice on buying last year was gold," because they were thinking about waiting, they were holding off and everything like that. And I said, "You guys, you really need to get into this sooner than later, because I think next year is going to be even worse." All right.
Right.
And it's true. Like I had clients who um they lost out on several houses, and they're like, "Not on the next one, not on the next one." We saw a house pop up day zero on the market, and they were like, they put in an offer $20,000 over list price, and it wasn't even a multiple offer situation yet. Yet was the key word there, because we gave an offer to the sellers that they couldn't refuse. It went pending right away, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to work in this market today, right? And I've been sharing that experience with the clients that I'm working with these days, and we're doing even more than that, and they're still losing out on multiple offer situations. So again, what worked last year is not working this year, right?
Right.
So
No,
we
I
have
totally
to
agree with
constantly
that.
be changing and constantly be educating, right?
Right. I totally agree with that. I guess with the next question, it's gonna be different, but at the same time, I do want to know myself, because I know you're a fairly busy person, and more or less I know what your schedule's like. But could you kind of just briefly run through, like, what does a day in a life of a realtor look like for you? And I've heard numerous gurus out there, they advocate for certain things, and I know that there's some truth of the matter there, to in order to be a successful real estate agent. So what is your formula? How does your schedule look like?
Okay, so success for different people is measured differently, right? When you first hear about this industry, you hear, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, Andy, is that like, "I don't think I want to be a realtor because I don't want to work evenings and weekends, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, be available," right?
Mhm.
We've heard that, right? And it's just like, but then don't. People don't understand. Well, what do you mean don't don't make yourself available Sundays? Don't make yourself available, Tuesday after 5 p.m., because you are the boss of your own schedule. And how you get around that, my friends, is you set your own schedule, And when a person says that they have an interest in seeing a home or are needing of your time, you give them options that work around your schedule, not the other way around, right?
Mhm.
And many of the agents that are with us, they hear me say the same thing before they're coming on board or already with us, and they're like, "How do I do this, Joe? I feel like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off." You know, schedule your personal time as an appointment, right? Because your family, consider your family an A plus client, right? Not a D, but an A plus client. If you can think on the scale of things, D is like fail or delete, right? A plus is like one of your best clients ever. Think of your family as your number one most important client ever, and you schedule your time with your family, and you would, because you would never cancel an appointment with an A plus client to meet with a D,
No.
right? You wouldn't, right? So schedule your personal time first and your business time around it. I know it's really hard for a lot of new agents in this industry to do that because they're so hungry and they want to prove themselves and they want to do it. But you cannot forget, and it was one of the most important lessons I ever learned as a brand new agent, was you cannot forget why you're doing this. You're doing this for you and for your family, right? Because
Right.
all the money in the world is not going to matter if you lose that, right? So that's, yeah, that's like how. And so getting back to it now, success is measured differently. I'm a 100%, maybe like 98%, okay, 98% by referral.
Mhm.
The rest of my business comes from realtor.ca leads, where people are inquiring on properties outside, just looking on realtor.ca. They don't have an agent yet, or by open houses,
Right.
right? Right. And open houses can be very successful or a big flop depending on how you run them. But that's a different story. But being 95% by referral, you have a client database that's supplying you with business. So instead of spending money, and there are many different agents out there that do it differently, right? They don't depend on referrals for their main business. They do online lead generation or different type of marketing, monthly mail outs to their neighborhoods and things like that. I don't do any of those things, and I'm still wildly successful as much as I want to be, right? I could turn it up a notch or I can dial it back depending on where things are at. And as you and many people that know me know, I have a young family, a near 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so again, why am I doing this? Because of them, right? And I'll never forget that fact, right? So if they need me, I'm able to be there. So for a day in the life of myself looks very different than an agent that doesn't have that,
Right.
right? That they're not married, or don't have kids, they don't have a house, or whatever they're renting or what have you. Like, it's completely different. So success is measured much differently, as in my eyes, than it would for another person. So I would say a day in the life of myself is, I wake up, pretty much whenever I want to, which, when I started was a different story. I woke up at 5:30,
Mhm.
you know. The most successful people in the world wake up before everybody else, right? We've heard that before, right? So that's what I was doing. I was doing those things, preparing myself mentally for the day ahead, because online lead generation was how I started my business,
Mhm.
right? And so now, many years later, it's quite different, right? And I'm still making more money than I was every year previous to the year, which is what you want. That's the goal, is to increase your business by 20 to 25% every year if possible. If you've doubled your business like last year over year, then you've got some lofty goals ahead of you, right?
Right.
But that's the goal, right? And so for me, like, I've always managed, all the while, having a family, being able to do better every year after year. So that success is different for me, than it would another agent that doesn't have those same goals and principles or whatever in mind,
That-
right? So like I said, I get to wake up whenever I want, right? I hang out with my family first, and then I make those calls to my clients who I know that they're currently looking for houses, give them those updates on the new listings that have come up, whether they're a buyer or a seller, what the competition is looking like, what things are selling for. And then I reach out to my past client database. Actually, I don't like to say past client because, saying past could be like they're dead, right? So my client database, because remember, folks, if they're not your client, if they're a past client, then you're saying that they're no longer your client, right?
Mhm.
They are your client to lose. So if you're not putting in that time to keep in touch with them, keep yourself top of mind with those people, they could very well forget about you, right? So I'm constantly in touch with 98% of the people that I've sold houses to over my career. And I don't never say 100% because of the fact that you're not going to do business with a certain people again just because of how things went. It was really rough, one way or the other. It was like maybe the worst transaction of your career. I always have one bad transaction every year,
We all do.
always one. Yeah, it's always one. And do I have like the best story, the worst story, I guess, for agents that want to reach out,
Right.
but you know how it is. But yeah, a day in the life of me looks very different than a day in the life of others,
That's
right?
very, very crucial. And thank you for sharing that perspective, because a lot of times, like viewers, especially who's thinking of getting into real estate or maybe don't know too much about how the real estate industry works, they may just feel that, okay, you're getting into business, you're your own boss, you wake up at 12 o'clock and you make a ton of money, you sell a house or two, and you drive nice cars, right?
Yeah.
That's the perception. And for those who are looking at this, and as Joe had mentioned, if you're a newer agent, your schedule will look very, very different than Joe's. Joe's been in the industry for a few years, where he's built up a client database where his choice of working with clients are referrals, just because of the ability to manage the referrals, that his time better. One of the key takeaways that I got from Joe and I used to till today is, first, you have to book your personal time and book your business around it, not the other way around. Because a lot of times you might think that, oh, you know what, my family will understand that I need to go show a house or two or write this deal, because I got to put food on the table. And that's where the dilemma always comes in, right? You always put your family, which is your most important, the why of why you got into real estate, aside in the back burner, thinking that they're always going to be there, that they're going to forgive you, that they understand. But no, it's at the end of the day, it comes back to relationship as well. Understanding what the boundaries are, understanding, the glue, and understanding the meaning of the relationship. So you got to make sure that your priorities, in a sense, are set straight right from the get-go, or else you can fall into this deep rabbit hole, right? And most importantly, you're going to feel burnt out, which a lot of entrepreneurs go through. They just keep working, they're hungry, they take on all this clients because they want to, they're excited. But at the end of the day, you might be spinning your tires and not achieving the success that you're hoping to achieve, and you wonder why, right? So this is yet a key takeaway that I got from you, Joe, just sharing your little story about that. So I wanted to ask you, like, okay, so someone gets into real estate, or maybe they're in real estate right now. What's the importance of a CRM? Like, for those that don't know what CRM, client relationship management system, where it basically manages all your clientele, your database, and then within that, there's going to be built in like workflows, drip campaigns, things that mechanisms that are built to stay in touch with your clients. Why is that important, Joe? Which CRM do you use, and why do you use it?
Okay. Well, you did already talk about the importance of it, right? It keeps track of your clients that you've worked with. The day of using like a notepad and sticky notes is like going to be going out the window to remember things like that, their names, phone numbers, etc. CRM, the client relationship manager, the way that it's even termed, right, is telling you it's a relationship manager, right? So you want to make sure that everything you know about that relationship is put into this database, so that when their anniversary comes up, the wedding anniversary or the birthday of, their first child and things like that, you want to be there for, or just, just say, hey, just wanted to wish, Cody a happy birthday. Great job, on, that new job that you got, and when your anniversary and things like that. All those things is all about having a relationship with that person. So many agents get so busy that they forget to nurture those relationships, and then they get totally, put set aside, or they feel bad, 5 years later down the road when they see someone else's sign on that lawn that they sold that house to. It's like, oh, why didn't they call me? Why didn't they use me? Well, when's the last time you chatted with them?
How dare them?
Right? How dare they?
Yeah.
Right? And so it hasn't happened to me very often. But remember, I said I do, keep in touch with 98%, right? Not 100%. So I have seen it before, because I send Christmas cards to all of my clients since day one, right? So I'm like, in September, October, November, I'm writing cards and everything like that, up until December when I send them out and everything like that. So it's, several hundred,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, it takes some time. So make sure you plan it out. But but there are people that I don't send cards to, right? Because I don't have that relationship with anyone. But that was my choice.
Right.
Right. So when I see, other people have, sold through another agent or anything like that, um, you know, it's my fault. It's not theirs, it's mine. Right. So that client relationship manager is super important for making sure that you can keep track of those very important details to keep yourself top of mind with those folks, right?
Right.
Remember, as an agent in this industry, you should, because of how many people that you deal with on a daily basis, have no more people than your clients know, right? In terms when it comes to like an electrician, a plumber, whatever sort of tradespeople, other professionals in this industry that have anything to do with the house or otherwise, to be that contact person that they reach out to, like, oh, Andy knows everybody. Anytime I ask Andy for somebody, he knows somebody, and it's always worked out, right?
Right.
So you're the person who's top of mind when they're in need for something, but you're also top of mind when someone that they know mentions a need for real estate services,
Right.
right? That's the goal, is that you have people advocating for you. There's a Richard Robbins quote, right? You have people who are satisfied with your service. You have people who are like, but they may not refer you, right? You have people who are loyal to you that they'll sell with you again, but they may not refer you. And then you have people who are advocates, right? That they go out of their way to like spread the good word of your name to everybody that they know, with no intention of getting anything in return, because you did such an amazing job of giving them that service that they didn't know could even exist, right? That they will put their own name on the line in order to refer you. So if you can have 10, 15 advocates over the course of your career who are consistently referring you business, like I do, right? Then you're set. Like, think about it. 15 deals a year that you didn't have to work for, right? One, or like 10 to 15 advocates, one or two referrals, that's 20 to 30 deals
Yeah.
a year, right? Which is what the average in Edmonton and surrounding area is, 6 to 11 transactions a year. As an agent, you cannot survive off that. Not in this day and age, right? Because like you said, everybody thinks that we make so much money, but they have no idea in like our costs, our expenses. Just to have our license, is $3,000 a year minimum, with just to be certified. Not even with the brokerage. That's a whole other level. The board, right? So all those things, right? So the CRM is an important part of running your business as a successful real estate agent.
Hmm.
The CRM now I'm going to tell you that I use is the Brian Buffini's Referral Maker CRM.
Right.
That CRM really, sends you daily reminders of the people that you need to contact, 5 people at least, right? It lets you know like which people have relationships with each other, who referred to who, and then if it also they have an app whereby if you're scheduling showings in a certain part of the city, and you use the map function in there, it tells you what clients are in the area within 1 or 2 kilometers.
That's
So
cool.
you can also pop by their house. Brian Buffini's Referral Maker program is really, really huge on doting on those past clients, and just popping by and just saying hello. Like, how many agents do that? They're all so busy. I haven't talked to my agent in 2 years, right? That's the wrong way to go about it. And that's why when you see that sign, someone else's sign on that lawn, you can't be mad, right?
It
Because
happens so many times. Yeah,
so
like
many times, right? So
yeah,
then this way it's supplementing, you not having to think about popping by those people's houses. They're in the area, and popping by means exactly that. You pop by. You don't stay there for dinner or for lunch. You're there for 5 minutes or less. You know, don't go in, or if you invite you in, stand inside their main foyer. Because you have other people's places to pop by, right? 5 minutes or less, that's half an hour. Stopping by 5 people's places, that you just reinforced your relationship with that person.
right.
So that's why I love that CRM, because it 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 truly, supplements the kind of business that I've always wanted to have, which is referral based.
Right. That's awesome. Like I heard of Brian Buffini. I know that you've mentioned it, Joe, that you've gotten great success from it. And by the way, folks, this video is not sponsored by Brian Buffini. This is just purely from Joe's experience of having success using that system, especially using his approach of being referral based and really nurturing his client database, right? Building those genuine relationships that he's mentioned about, and being that to-go person for his network. So he becomes top of mind. So that's really, really awesome. For those that are looking at a particular CRM, if you've never looked into Brian Buffini, make sure you go and check out Brian Buffini. And I believe they even have a trial, so you can even try them out and before you commit. So I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess on a lighter note, Joe, that I want to ask you, that I'm curious about, is what's your go-to coffee shop that you meet your clients at, or that you prefer to go to on your own?
So the go-to place, so it's changed, right? As you know, in the last year, 2 years with COVID and everything like that, it's definitely changed. You can't even sit, weren't even allowed to be inside a coffee shop if you weren't from the same household. So people were like, well, can I just sit at a table 6 feet away from you? And you're at your own table by yourself. I'm like, no, you know what? If you're not sick and exhibiting any sort of symptoms or anything like that, why don't we just meet at your place, right? Like, I've always made it a point to make it as convenient as possible for my clients to meet, not convenient for me, right? And they see that. They know that I live in this southeast of Edmonton, as close as to Beaumont, as you can get at 6 minutes away, right? Sort of thing. So if I'm driving to St. Albert, they know that it's a trek for me, right? So they value that, right? Remember, you're putting their best interests before your own, right? It's even in the representation agreement, right? So the best coffee place is your client's place.
Nice.
Right? Oftentimes my clients will offer me water, juice, coffee, and if it's early enough, before 1 p.m., I'll say, yeah, sure, I'll take a coffee, just black, please. So before, it used to be Starbucks, right? And then everybody's like, make your office, as a new agent, make your office Starbucks. Have a sticker of your brokerage on your laptop, wear the pin that you're a realtor. And by the way, folks, as a new agent, get that pin from the board, because that's the only place that you can buy it, unless you get it off your realtor or something like that you knew. Because I've gotten several deals, several people who have asked me, to help them just by wearing that pin,
Right.
sitting in a coffee shop, right? So it's the best investment you can make. It's like $4 between like $3 and $5. So I said the average 4, right? So get that, because you want people to know that you're an agent, a real estate agent, right? And in this day and age, it doesn't matter. It seems to matter what brokerage you work for, right? As long as you're an agent that, like, again, you're trustworthy and you treat your clients with respect and you give them great service, like they've come to know from friends and family, or Google review sites and everything like that. They check your reviews now more than they take the word of their trusted family member. Right. They want to make sure that they're not getting into something that they don't want to, right? So you know make your office that Starbucks or, you know, that McDonald's or whatever. So personally, I like McDonald's coffee. So if I'm going to go somewhere to do work, it's a McDonald's.
Right.
But you know, if I was going to meet a client beforehand, before all this happened, COVID and everything like that, it was always at a Starbucks. You know, but now I've made it clients' houses as to where we meet.
Yeah, that's awesome because yeah, you want to make it all about the client, whatever's convenient and comfortable for them, right? And sometimes
Absolutely.
maybe they're not comfortable with you coming to their home. Maybe you want to meet at a neutral kind of location, which is perfectly fine. I think
Yeah.
that as agents, we have that ability because we drive everywhere and we're flexible in that regard, right? And we understand the comfort level of our clients and we respect that. So that's really, really cool.
Mhm.
Now, my last question to you, Joe, is in your entire career in real estate, what's the funniest question that you've ever been asked by an agent that you can still remember today?
You know what? It's I'd say it's not the funniest question. It was kind of like a more like a situational thing where someone asked me if something was if this could be included within the sale. And so it's not really like if that's not the funny question, but the answer that I always give is anything and everything is negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and why I say that is like I heard this story way back when at the beginning of my career, which is the same story I'm going to tell you today, which was there was a $14 million property for sale in New York, top level penthouse of a building, not even like a really super tall building. I think it was like a 6 story or 7 story, but it was $14 million penthouse.
Right.
And the family with their young 6-year-old son came in and saw the house. And, you know, in the private comments, it said that friendly dog will be in the house. You know, don't worry, it won't bother you. It doesn't bark, doesn't bite. It'll just be sitting in its dog bed. And that's how it's always been. This
Mm-hmm.
family came and saw the place, and the kid immediately saw the dog, and it was a golden lab, and walked over to the dog and just played with the dog while it was there, while the parents were walking around with the real estate agent seeing the house. And so they saw the place, they got their kid and they left, and the agent called them and said, okay, what did you think about the place? They're like, we'll take it. And she's like, awesome, fantastic, if the dog is included. Right, because the kid loved the dog so much that if the kid didn't like the place, they wouldn't have bought it. So they wrote it into the purchase agreement that the dog had to be included, full list price, full list price. And when I say everything and anything is negotiable, as long as it's agreed to, yeah, those sellers sold that house with the family dog.
No.
Right? For $14 million, you know, because the kid said, I love the dog. And he was really upset that it wasn't going to be theirs. So there you have it. That was the funniest thing, you know, in terms of like what an agent asked me, not like directly, but that's the funniest story that I have, you know, regarding what
That's
can be
hilarious.
included within the purchase agreement.
Yeah, there's some crazy things that, us realtors, we definitely commonly go through, and sometimes it is pretty surprising what it is, right? And
Yeah.
what the requests are. So, well, you know what? This concludes another episode of EXP Unleashed. I wanted to really thank you, Joe, for again investing the time, sharing your words of wisdom, and really kind of a lot of times, you're as busy real estate agents, giving up some of your time, that means you're compromising and not, having time doing something else, whether it being with your family or with serving other agents. So I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, I just wanted to also just thank you for everything that you've taught me, everything that you've been there for me through these times, because real estate isn't, rainbows and unicorns, right? Like you said, there's a lot of behind the scene things. There's a lot of knowledge base. There's a lot of education on our end, that as real estate agents, we wanna accumulate, because that's gonna help us with serving our clients, right? And I'm very, very grateful to have met you and continue to be associated with you. Like now I can know that, hey, you know what? I know the smartest guy in real estate that I personally know in my circle, and he's on my team, right? Like I know that you're always there and you're always willing to help. So thank you so much on that.
Oh, geez, man, you're making me blush. I know you probably can't see it, but but I really appreciate that. And again, Andy, thank you for everything that you do for all of our fellow agents and anybody that's watching and following along with your channel. This is something amazing that you've dedicated. Again, like you said, like people don't know how long it takes to make videos like this, all the editing and the time and the preparation that goes into this, and what you've committed to do here, and which is basically along the same lines, just in just a different medium, to help other agents, right? And see about what the best choices they could make for themselves career wise, or just even getting into real estate. So kudos to you. Keep up the great work, and I'm looking forward to, like, again, to seeing what videos you are popping up next in the future.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. Again, for all the viewers here today, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you hit that notification bell, because you're going to be notified firsthand when my next new video gets uploaded. And if you haven't already done so, please make sure to subscribe. And thank you so much again, everyone. And remember, last but not least, to remember to unleash your potential. We'll see you in your next one. Take care, everyone. Bye now.
Bye-bye.